What's up guys? In this video, we're gonna talk about how we are collectively scrolling ourselves to death. Younger generations are the most impacted, with Gen Z spending more than 6 hours per day on their phone. And that doesn't even include any time that they spend looking at TVs, laptops, or any other screens during the day. This may be the single most important issue facing our time today. It's been a general trend for a long time that people are just spending more time on their phone. The average American across all generations spends more than 4 hours per day on their phone. And it's a symbol of what's going on with technology and society. Beyond just entertainment, it's shopping, texting, calls. We do everything on our phones. We work on our phones, we text, we call our friends, but we also use entertainment, we shop. It's really replaced the computer as a one-stop shop for us to do everything. On top of that though, app designers have figured out how to maximize retention to make sure that we stay on their app longer so that our average view durations are increasingly longer over time, and that's only increased time spent on the phone over the past 10 years. Social media sites specifically reward creators that can keep users on the platform. The site is designed to promote creators that keep users on platform for the longest so that they can sell more ads and maximize profits for the shareholders. They have specific metrics that they track down to the T in order to make sure that they can promote the creators that'll keep users on for as long as possible. It's resulted in a system that gets people to use their phones for longer and longer periods, and even longer than anybody ever thought that would be reasonable. Younger generations, specifically Gen Z, are specifically impacted because they grew up during their formative years with social media sites. Now, imagine if you're a millennial or older. When you were growing up, you only played the status game with your high school or junior high friends when you were in school or afterwards. People would gossip together. The high school game has been going on for decades, but when you were at home, you were in a safe space. Now imagine Gen Z was the first generation that had Facebook or social media or Snapchat, where the status game in high school didn't stop when you left the classroom. It only picked up. And I remember a little bit of this when I was a kid. Facebook was new and exciting when I was in high school, and I would spend all day hanging out with my friends, and then I couldn't wait to get home and log into Facebook to see what everyone else was up to. Imagine being a 13-year-old girl trying to find your place in high school, might not be fitting in with all the other girls, but then you go home and you log on to Instagram and you can see who the most popular girls are in the school because it's ranked by number of followers. It has a significant impact on how you view the world. Now, one of the key impacts out of all of this is that anxiety is skyrocketing. And you hear people talk more and more about feeling anxious, that it almost feels cliche, but it's not. 43% of Americans say that they felt more anxious in 2024 than they did in 2023. And so I've been thinking about this. Smartphone addiction impacts the quality of your sleep, which is going to impact how you feel during the day. It increases your stress levels, and that feeling just compounds over time. Day after day, when you're spending that much time on your phone and negatively impacting your sleep and feeling more stressed, that's going to have a negative impact on you. And we're all addicted to our phones, to the point that half of Americans say that they feel anxious when they don't have their phone on them. And again, younger people are the most impacted by this, with almost half of Gen Z reporting clinically significant anxiety levels. There's pressure to always be online and play the status game with everybody, and there's never a break from being on your phone. So that game never has a break. They never have a chance to take a step back and breathe and just focus on something else, because you're always online seeing what other people are up to and feeling that pressure to need to keep up or post something so that you're not falling behind with everybody else. And what you're seeing across these generations is a lost sense of purpose. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that just by scrolling endlessly, you start to feel bored and frustrated and annoyed all of the time, that you just end up wasting such a significant point in your day that you can't help but think, what am I doing over here? And it doesn't help that social media just promotes bad news that'll hurt people's self-esteem just because the app creators figured out that bad news will keep users on the platform for longer. And so if you're spending 4 to 6 hours per day on your phone and just constantly being exposed to bad news, how can you hope to think that the world is going to be a better place by the time that you get older and can contribute to making it a better place? When you're on your phone this much, it takes away from the real world interaction that is critical for people to grow up healthily. And I know that a lot of people find community in online groups, but there's no replacing what it's actually like to face be with somebody. I know that we learned that during the pandemic, because I remember after being separated from friends and family for so long, that first feeling of being reunited to them. Even though we were talking on FaceTime, even though we were talking on the phone, there's something human about being immediately next to somebody that makes your face flush and light up and really feel that connection in between humans. And this younger generation who was trying to figure out in their puberty years how to interact with other people, that was taken away from them. And the way that they communicated with their friends was strictly online. And so when your body grows under that set of assumptions that that's how it is to interact with people, you almost get stunted from a social perspective because you've never had that full experience of seeing friends and even enemies that you would potentially confront face to face. And I hope that it's not a permanent feeling where by having face-to-face interactions over a long enough period of time, that this generation is not fully stunted by the pandemic. And so what is it that you can actually do about it? And it's funny because I heard a comedian tell this joke, and he said that people today are always talking about mindfulness and how they want to be more mindful. When back in the day, call it early 2000s or the 90s, if you were on the train or in the car and it was raining out, you were just staring at the beads of water on the window and watching those beads of water drip past. And today they would call that mindfulness. But back then we called that just being bored and needing to pass the time because we didn't have our phones on us at all. And I think that there's actually something to that. I think we need to spend some more time being bored, because I think that our brains are like computers and our thoughts are like emails. Your brain will automatically process your thoughts and then sort the email away. But it will only do that when you're bored and actually confronting those thoughts. When you pick up your phone 100 times a day, your brain is never bored and processing the backlog of emails in its head. It's constantly being distracted. And so if you can find set periods of time, call it 10 minutes a day, 30 minutes, or go for a long 1-hour walk, what you're gonna notice is that you will process thoughts that have been in your mind for potentially significant amounts of time. And every day you're always gonna have new thoughts that need to get processed. But if you've been addicted to your phone for a long time, spending 4 to 6 hours on your phone for potentially years, then there are situations that have occurred in your life that you have not properly processed because you've always been distracted. And if you don't process those potentially difficult moments, I think that contributes a lot to feelings of anxiety and depression that so many young people feel today. And so if you can find moments of boredom where you can put your phone away, and I know it's difficult to put your phone away, so try to do it for 10 minutes at a time, you'll start to see how the machine starts to think, your brain, and process these thoughts. And a lot of it's gonna be really uncomfortable because there's a lot of stupid thoughts that we've had that we don't want to think about, but going through that discomfort, you'll notice after even a few minutes that you feel just a little bit better and clearer and lighter than you did before. A lot of people, when they talk about meditation, they think that they need to focus on their breath. What I think that you need to do is just close your eyes and do nothing. Your brain, the machine, will handle everything on its own. You will start to think through and confront all of the thoughts that have been leading up for years, and you'll notice after a long enough period of time, eventually your brain will get tired of thinking of those things, and then you can actually think about your breath and really just be present. But it's something that you're gonna need to work on day in and day out, potentially for months as you work through it. But by putting yourself in these moments of boredom where you can work through that, that's really going to be the key to break a lot of these thoughts that are causing anxiety in your life. Your mental health is super important, and there's a lot of different ways that you can work to make yourself feel better. And if you're spending too much time on your phone, I think that you're probably missing out on a sense of actual community. And so once you've processed a lot of your thoughts, or in conjunction with it, right, as long as you're working on constantly trying to carve out a few minutes a day to be bored and just think, once you can do that, you should reach out and try to figure out what's some actual communities that you can join so that you can have that face-to-face interaction. And what I've heard is that a significant part of the human brain is almost like a hive brain, where we crave to have these communal experiences with people. And back in the day, a lot of people could only get those experiences by going into church, where you chant the same thing together and you get that feeling of community where you feel like you're something that's bigger than you. And I don't know if that's your jam. It doesn't matter. If it is, great. I think a lot of people have found a lot of help by going into some sort of church, but if it's not, other people find those experiences elsewhere. If you've ever been to a concert, that's a communal experience where everyone is together and listening to the same song or performer and feel like they're a part of something that's significantly bigger than themselves. Now, you don't need to go to a concert in order to feel a communal experience. You can join a gym where everybody knows each other, particularly a boutique gym where they have classes. That does a lot better job of that. But by joining a community where you know the people that are there every day, that'll add some structure to your life and actually give you that face-to-face interaction that you don't get when you're spending so much time on your phone. I think that the technology train isn't going anywhere, and we need to learn to live with it. Social media, phones, being able to work and do everything on our phone, we're gonna have to figure out how to live with it. And so the important thing is to try to find balance. 6 hours a day on your phone is a lot. I would love to just give the advice to say only use it for 2 hours per day, but if you're using it for 6, I know that it's gonna be hard to do that. You wanna chip away at it bit by bit to get there. You can find some time during the day, it doesn't have to be a lot, to just be bored and process your thoughts, and then once a week go out and try to interact with an actual community. What you're gonna see is that you're gonna chip away at your screen time, and hopefully you're gonna feel better by doing that. And if over the coming months and years you feel better by doing that, then keep chipping away at it more and more, and try to strike that balance for you where you learn to live with this everything device, your phone, but still not taking away from the universal, beautiful, in-person experiences.